All right, everybody, thanks for joining in once again. This episode, technically, we're doing a fan request, and we are going way back to the end of the 70s for this one. And I think this is probably the first time we've ever covered a mini-series on this show, because I don't believe we ever talked about the original Stephen King It miniseries from, when was that, 1990, 1991? But anyway, this is another Stephen King miniseries, all the way from 1979 with Salem's Lot.
Yeah, this is a classic. This is, in terms of Stephen King adaptations, this is right up there with, for most folks, with Carrie and with, Pet Sematary, the original. And, people love this film. And I get like the original It TV series.
This has always been one of those movies, or whatever you want to call it, because just like that's the way you find it now. It's it's basically a movie. It's not really a miniseries anymore. But anytime you come across this, that's the thing that always sticks out, is like, oh, it's like 3 hours and 10 minutes long or something, 3 hours and 4 minutes long or whatever, and you're like, damn, that's a long thing. And then you start to watch it, damn, this is kind of a long thing in parts.
It's a very long one, yeah. And it's funny because I think we've talked about this, about going back and revisiting films that we haven't seen since we were kids. And, a big one that we've talked about many times is like Hello, Mary Lou. And, then I know that I've gone back and found the ones I liked when I was young and picked most of them up on Blu-ray and, started a collection or VHS. And it's like, for whatever reason, Salem's Lot, I never went back and watched it. And I guess it wasn't like a big part of my childhood, but I do remember as a kid, like at least twice, it coming up on TV. And this is like, probably early 80s, obviously not the first time it was released. And I remember my parents watching it. And the part that sticks out the most to me as a kid was the scenes with the vampire kids coming up to visit their friends through the windows, tapping on the window and asking to be let in. And that is, if you ask me about Salem's Lot, that is the thing that sticks out first. That's the first thing I remember.
Yeah, I remember that image, at least from being a kid too, but I don't remember the first time I saw this. I just know it's always one of those ones that it's almost like any of like the Godfather movies or something. Anytime somebody says like Salem's Lot, the first thing that pops in my head is like, oof, that's like over 3 hours long, man. Or right. What was that one movie from the 80s too that was like super, super long? Oh, Gandhi. That movie was like super long. I remember that. There was that movie, and I think there was another movie too that was on TV a bunch when we were kids, like cable and stuff, that had intermissions in them. I'm like, that's weird. But I remember like Gandhi had an intermission in it.
It was so super long. I think that's probably what was the turnoff for me, because I remember seeing it at video stores. You could rent this on VHS back in the day, but I think it was like probably 2 tapes long, I imagine.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah.
You didn't pick this one up on VHS yet, did you?
No, not at all. And I won't own it on VHS either.
You're not adding it to the collection, huh?
Not at all. Not at all.
So what were your general thoughts? I mean, finally we're getting to this one that we haven't, we got to admit, it is a classic. I mean, when you think Salem's Lot, everybody knows about this one, and certainly anybody in the horror community is going to know about it. And, it's a Stephen King adaptation. There hasn't been another one, like a remake or anything like that since that, at least nothing that, anybody cares about. There might be, I think I remember hearing something about a Salem's Lot, like maybe direct to video version or something like that. But clearly the 1979 TV miniseries is the go-to for this story.
This movie is very dated. I mean, you can definitely tell it's from the 70s. Mm-hmm. You can tell that There is a lot of filler in it because it was made for TV. It's almost hard to watch in parts because it does get so boring in some parts, especially like in the first, like I'd say probably 2/3 of the movie. I personally think this movie could have been cut down a lot. If it was under 2 hours, it probably would be a good movie. But man, it like 3 hours, it's too long of a movie.
And I see what you mean by that. I mean, it's definitely long, and obviously because it was a TV series, so it's not something, sit through the whole thing like this. It kind of burns you out a little bit. And I think I watched the first 2 hours, and then I had to take a break, and then I went back and watched the final hour on a second viewing. The thing that I will say about this, though, that I was actually pretty surprised about because one of the reasons I never wanted to go revisit this was, number one, I don't have a whole lot of memories of it, except for, like I said, like the vampire kids floating around the outside of the window, that whole scene. But also, I didn't remember particularly finding it like entertaining. When I did see it as a kid, I think I remember just like, oh, this is like the longest thing ever. And so I was like, yeah, I don't really want to sit down and watch this one. But I will say that when I watched it, I was actually very entertained. Even with the little subplots and, like, you get to know the people of Salem's Lot and all their lives and, like, all these little side stories. And I was strangely very entertained by the whole thing.
Yeah, but see, that's the problem with it, is just like what you said, is this is not a movie that you can watch in one sitting. It's just, I mean, I'm sure there are people out there that are huge fans of this and can sit through it. But yeah, I'm the same way with you. I watched it in one day, but I think it took me like 6 hours to watch it or something.
You took a break, huh?
Because I watched like the first like hour of it, got up. I think I got like some snacks or something. I think I watched this one like on a Saturday or Sunday afternoon. And so, it was like talk to my wife or something for a little bit or hanging out or something. Then came back to it, and the same thing after like, once I started getting bored, like, let me turn it off for a little bit and I'll come back a little bit later. But I kept doing that, yeah, and I watched it all. I ended up watching it all in one day. But yeah, it was probably two it was probably more than two. So it was probably 3 or 4 breaks. Because like I said, once you got to that final act of the movie, which was a little bit more exciting than the rest of it, then it was like, yeah. But getting to that point was like some pieces of it and stuff were like, oh, okay, that's cool. But then when you're getting to the point where you're like, what's going on? Oh, what?
Yeah, no, I hear you. And I think that too has a lot to do with the fact that it's, being adapted from a novel. And, there's all these different things going on that they have to try to find a way to put into this story to kind of make it all make sense. And so it's very, very heavy. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of different characters you meet. And you've got like that one, the guy having the affair with the girl in the office. And you got her husband, who's the truck driver. And then you've got, the kids doing the play. And then you got your main character, the author who's staying there, wants to, trying to write about this old haunted, scary house. And there's so many things, so many different angles and different ways, to look at this thing that, yeah, it does get kind of overwhelming.
Right. Yeah. It is a lot to take in. And I don't even remember the last time I've ever read Salem's Lot, the book. So I couldn't tell you, like off of the top of my head without really digging into it, how much is different or what's the same from the book in the movie, as far as adaptation-wise goes. If it's even actually a good adaptation or not. I'm not actually 100% sure. But I gotta say, too, the other thing, man, with these like late 70s, early 80s movies, evidently Tom Atkins wasn't the only like middle-aged dude getting it on in the movies. I don't know what it is with these guys, like these older men, and like these, women are just like, oh baby, I gotta do you, like.
Yeah, no, that's funny. I think that's just the tossing in a little Hollywood there for
Oh
that. For
man, it's
these,
just funny.
I thought it was interesting too that this is a Tobe Hooper film. It wasn't that much long after Texas Chainsaw that he did this one.
Right.
That's kind of cool. And then later on he did. Well, it's I guess it's controversial whether he did it or didn't with Poltergeist. But
Oh,
so when I think of
Steven Spielberg's Poltergeist.
Exactly. So it's like when you think of Tobe Hooper, the first thing obviously that comes to mind is Texas Chainsaw. But then I forgot about Salem's Lot, that he had something to do with that. He was the director of that one, and then so I think he did a fairly good job. And it's a whole way different film than Chainsaw, that's for sure. But I strangely really enjoyed this film, and I to be honest with you, I kind of dreaded watching this. I never wanted to go back to it because I'm like, damn, this thing's way too long, and I'm not that big on the whole vampire thing. But I was pleasantly surprised. I will say though that one of the things with this one, you've got this head vampire, and it's a straight up copy of Nosferatu.
Right.
The makeup design. And I wonder if in the Stephen King book, if it was described that way, like if in his mind that's what he saw, or if it was just, this was like a filmmaker's deal where they were like, let's make it look like.
I'm not sure.
That'd be interesting to see. And one thing that was kind of funny, it's like you'd never see this in a movie in 2020 unless it was like a joke or a prank or something. But when the head vampire takes the mom and dad, in that scene where he, jumps through the window towards the end of the film, and like all the mom and dad and the kid and the one guy are all at the dinner table, and then he jumps in and then he grabs the mom and dad by the back of their necks and like gives them like the Three Stooges headbutt. I thought that was great. I'm like, what? I was like, damn, what's going on here? That's you would never see a vampire do that, like in a playing that straight in a modern movie.
What's funny about this too is like I don't ever even remember. This isn't a movie that I remember like ever even really being aware of when I was like younger. Like, I mean, I know we're kind of jumping around in this episode, but the more I think about it, like I don't remember ever seeing this like on the shelves in the video stores when I was a kid. It wasn't until I was older that I was aware of this movie, which is kind of weird.
Really? You don't remember it? Seeing the box art? Mm-mm. Like if you look on, like with the the head vampire kind of raising his arms up in the air and he's sort of like hovering over the house, and yeah, I remember that. I remember seeing it all the time. I never wanted to rent it, but I remember seeing the cover art all the time as a kid.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that maybe I did. I just don't remember. It just doesn't jump out, which is kind of weird. But maybe it's too because I just maybe, like you said, maybe I had it in my head way back when I was a kid that I was like, oh, 3 hours. I don't want to watch that.
Now, here's a question for you. I don't know if you know the answer to this. Is there a sequel to this? I think I remember something about a sequel or something like, there is one. Return to Salem's Lot, 1987. I knew there was one. Interesting. Okay. And that's like, yeah, I've never seen that one.
How long is that one? 4 hours long?
That one is, let's see. So it's a sequel to the 79 miniseries. It's starring Larry Cohen, directed by Larry Cohen. The Coen brother movie? Michael Moriarty, Andrew Dugan, and Samuel Fuller. Let's see. Time, how long? 100 minutes. So, no, it's a shorter one.
That's a little bit more doable.
Yeah, that'd be kind of interesting to find out more about that one. I remember hearing about it, but I've never. Yeah, this is one I never saw.
I wonder if it's something like Fright Night 2 or something along those lines, where somebody was like, "Oh, we should make a sequel to that movie," and then somebody else was like, "Oh, okay. Well, what should we do?" And they're like, "Well, let's just tell this same story, but just tell it a little bit different." All right, cool. Let's do that.
Well, yeah, it's the release. It says the film was given a limited release theatrically in the United States by Warner Brothers in 1987. It was released on VHS by Warner Brothers the following year, and then released on a burn-on-demand DVD in 2010.
Burn-on-demand DVD.
Yeah, that shows that, you know, they don't even want to make it. They don't know that anyone's going to care. That's funny.
Oh, man. Too funny.
We got to check that one out sometime. So I know nothing about that. I wonder if it's like any of the original players are in that one.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you read those names. I don't know those names, but I don't know. Like usual, I don't even know who's in this one. So
very cool. Yeah, we'll have to check that one out sometime.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and I guess I'll go ahead and start with the review on this one.
Here we go.
I don't think it's going to be any shocker. But, yeah, this movie is just too damn long. There was parts of it that I enjoyed, but overall, if I cannot make it through a movie if I don't want to make it through a movie in one sitting, I should say. Like, I could have sat there and been like, and then I would have just been a miserable shit by the end of the movie.
Yeah.
You know? I've just been like, screw this movie.
Mm-hmm.
While there are parts of it that were enjoyable, the last act of the movie I thought was pretty good. But overall, it's just too long of a movie for me, so thumbs down for me.
Oh, man. Thumbs down. Wow. You're thumbing down a classic. All right, that's fine. I understand. I understand where you're coming from. I'm going to go ahead and say I'm going to give this one a thumbs up. I was pleasantly surprised. I was not bored, which I thought I would be. And going into this, I was like, yeah, this is going to be really long and it's going to drag and I really don't know if I can do this, but I enjoyed it. So, you know, is it one of my favorites ever? Am I going to watch it, you know, multiple viewings? No, probably not. But I did enjoy it enough to give it a thumbs up.